Hanok, Enoch, chapter 83. And now, my son Methuselah, I will show you all my visions which I have seen, recounting them before you. 2 visions I saw before I took a wife, and the one was quite unlike the other. The first when I was learning to write. The second before I took your mother. I saw a terrible vision, and regarding them I prayed to Yahweh. I had laid down in the house of my grandfather Mahalalel. I saw in a vision how the Shamayim collapsed and was taken away and fell to the earth. And when it fell to the earth, I saw how the earth was swallowed up in a great abyss, and mountains were suspended on mountains, and hills sank down on hills, and high trees were torn from their stems and hurled down and sunk in the abyss. And after that a word fell into my mouth, and I lifted up to cry aloud and said, "The earth is destroyed." And my grandfather Mahalalel woke me as I lay near him and said to me, "Why do you cry so, my son, and why do you make such lamentation?" And I recounted to him the whole vision which I had seen, and he said to me, "A terrible matter you have seen, my son, and of grave moment is your vision as to the secrets of all the sin of the earth. It must sink into the abyss and be destroyed with a great destruction. And now, my son, arise and make petition to Yahweh of esteem, since you are a believer, that a remnant may remain on the earth, and that he may not destroy the whole earth. My son, from the Shamayim all this will come upon the earth, and upon the earth there will be great destruction." After that I arose and prayed and implored and pleaded and wrote down my prayer for the generations of the world. And I will show all matters to you, my son Methuselah. And when I had gone forth below and seen the Shamayim, and the sun rising in the east, and the moon going down in the west, and a few stars, and the whole earth, and all as he had known it in the beginning, then I berakah Yahweh of right ruling and exalted him, because he had made the sun to go forth from the windows of the east, and he ascended and rose on the face of the Shamayim, and departed and kept traversing the path shown unto him. Hanok, Enoch, chapter 84. And I lifted up my hands in righteousness, and berakah the qadosh and great one, and spoke with the breath of my mouth, and with the tongue of flesh, which Elohim has made for the children of flesh of men, that they should speak with, and he gave them breath, and a tongue and a mouth that they should speak with. Baruch are you, O Adon, sovereign, great and mighty in your greatness, Adon of the whole creation of the Shamayim, sovereign of sovereigns, and Elohim of the whole world, and your power and reign and greatness abide forever and ever, and throughout all generations. Your dominion and all the Shamayim are your throne forever, and the whole earth your footstool forever and ever. For you have made and you rule all, and no matter is too hard for you. Wisdom does not depart from the place of your throne, nor turn away from your presence. And you know and see and hear all matters, and there is none hidden from you, for you see all. And now the messengers of your Shamayim are guilty of trespass, and upon the flesh of men your wrath abides until the great day of judgment. And now, O Elohim and Adon and great sovereign, I implore and pray to fulfill my prayer, to leave me a posterity on earth, and not destroy all the flesh of man, and make the earth without inhabitants, so that there should be an eternal destruction. And now, Adonai, destroy from the earth the flesh which has aroused your wrath, but the flesh of righteousness and uprightness establish as a plant of the eternal seed, and do not hide your face from the prayer of your servant, O Yahweh. Hanok, Enoch, chapter 85. And after this I saw another dream, and I will show the whole dream to you, my son. And Hanok lifted up and spoke to his son Methuselah. To you, my son, will I speak. Hear my words. Incline your ear to the vision of your father. Before I took your mother Edna, I saw in a vision on my bed, and see, a bull came forth from the earth, and the bull was white, and after it came forth a heifer, and along with this came forth 2 bulls, one of them black, and the other red. And the black bull gored the red one, and pursued him over the earth, and I could no longer see the red bull. But the black bull grew, and the heifer went with him, and I saw that many oxen proceeded from him, which resembled and followed him. And the cow, the first one, went from the presence of the first bull in order to seek the red one, but did not find, and lamented with a great lamentation over him, and sought him. And I looked till the first bull came to her and quieted her, and from that time onward she cried no more. And after that she bore another white bull, and after him she bore many bulls and black cows. And I saw in my sleep the white bull likewise grow and become a great white bull, and from him proceeded many white bulls, and they resembled him. And they began to bring forth many white bulls which resembled them, one following the other, very many. Hanok, Enoch, chapter 86. And again I saw with my eyes as I slept, and I saw the Shamayim above, and see a star fell from the Shamayim, and it arose and ate and pastured amongst those oxen. And after that I saw the large and the black oxen, and see, they all changed their stalls and pastures and their cattle, and began to live with each other. And again I saw in the vision, and looked towards the Shamayim, and see, I saw many stars descend and cast themselves down from the Shamayim to the first star, and they became bulls amongst those cattle, and pastured with them amongst them. And I looked at them and saw, and see, they all let out their members like horses, and began to cover the cows of the oxen, and they all became pregnant, and brought forth elephants, camels, and donkeys. And all the oxen feared them, and were frightened at them, and began to bite with their teeth, and to devour, and to gore with their horns. And they began also to devour those oxen. And see, all the children of the earth began to tremble and quake before them, and to flee from them. Hanok, Enoch, chapter 87. And again I saw how they began to gore each other, and to devour each other, and the earth began to cry aloud. And I raised my eyes again to the Shamayim, and I saw in the vision, and see, there came forth from the Shamayim beings who were like white men, and 4 went forth from that place, and 3 with them. And those 3 that had last come forth grasped me by my hand, and took me up away from the generations of the earth, and raised me up to a high place, and showed me a tower raised high above the earth, and all the hills were lower. And one said to me, Remain here till you see all that befalls those elephants, camels, and donkeys, and the stars, and the oxen, and all of them. Hanok, Enoch, chapter 88. And I saw one of those 4 who had come forth first, and he seized the first star which had fallen from the Shamayim, and bound it hand and foot, and cast it into an abyss. Now the abyss was narrow and deep, and horrible and dark. And one of them drew a sword, and gave it to those elephants and camels and donkeys. Then they began to smite each other, and the whole earth quaked because of them. And as I was watching in the vision, see, one of those 4 who had come forth, thrown from the Shamayim, and gathered and took all the great stars whose members were like those of horses, and bound them all hand and foot, and cast them in an abyss of the earth. Hanok, Enoch, chapter 89. And one of those 4 went to the white bull, and instructed him in a secret, without being terrified. He was born a bull, and became a man, and built for himself a great vessel, and dwelt upon it. And 3 bulls dwelt with him in the vessel, and they were covered in. And again I raised my eyes toward the Shamayim, and saw a high roof, with 7 water torrents upon them, and those torrents flowed with much water into an enclosure. And I saw again, and see, fountains were opened on the surface of the great enclosure, and the water began to swell and rise upon the surface. And I saw the enclosure till all its surface was covered with water. And the water, the darkness and mist increased upon it. And as I looked at the height of the water had risen above the height of the enclosure, and was streaming over the enclosure, and it stood upon the earth. and all the cattle of the enclosure were gathered together until I saw how they sank and were swallowed up and perished in the water. But the vessel floated on the water, while all the oxen and elephants and camels and donkeys sank to the bottom with all the animals, so that I could no longer see them, and they were not able to escape, perished and sunk to the depths. And again I saw in the vision till those water torrents were removed from the high roof, and the chasms of the earth were leveled up, and other abysses were opened. Then the water began to run down into these, till the earth became visible. But the vessel rested on the earth, and the darkness withdrew, and light appeared. But the white bull which had become a man came out of the vessel, and the 3 bulls with him, and one of those 3 was white like the bull, and one of them was red as blood, and one black. And the white bull departed from them. And they began to bring forth beasts of the field and birds, so that there arose different kinds: lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, hyenas, wild boars, foxes, squirrels, pigs, hawks, vultures, hawks, eagles, and ravens. And among them was born a white bull. And they began to bite one another. But that white bull which was born amongst them brought forth a wild donkey, and a white bull with it, and the wild donkeys multiplied. But the bull which was born from him brought forth a black wild boar and a white sheep. And the former brought forth many boars, but the sheep brought forth 12 sheep. And when those 12 sheep had grown, they gave up one of them to the donkeys, and those donkeys again gave up that sheep to the wolves, and the sheep grew up among the wolves. And the Adon brought the 11 sheep to live with it, and to pasture with it among the wolves. And they multiplied and became many flocks of sheep. And the wolves began to tear them, and they oppressed them until they cried aloud on account of their little ones, and to complain unto their Adon. And a sheep which had been saved from the wolves fled and escaped to the wild donkeys. And I saw the sheep how they lamented and cried, and pleaded their Adon with all their might, till that Adon of the sheep descended at the voice of the sheep from a high abode, and came to them and pastured them. And he called the sheep which had escaped the wolves, and spoke with it concerning the wolves, that it should warn them not to touch the sheep. And the sheep went to the wolves according to the word of the Adon. And another sheep met it, and went with it. And the 2 went and entered together into the assembly of those wolves, and spoke with them, and warned them not to touch the sheep from here on. And after that I saw the wolves, and how they oppressed the sheep exceedingly with all their power, and the sheep cried aloud. And the Adon came to the sheep, and they began to smite those wolves, and the wolves began to make lamentation, but the sheep became quiet, and immediately ceased to cry out. And I saw these sheep till they departed from amongst the wolves, but the eyes of the wolves were blinded, and the wolves departed in pursuit of the sheep with all their might. And the Adon of the sheep went with them as their leader, and all his sheep followed him, and his face was dazzling and magnificent and awesome to look upon. But the wolves began to pursue the sheep till they reached a sea of water. And the sea was divided, and the waters stood on this side and on that before their face. And their Adon led them, and placed himself between them and the wolves. And as the wolves did not yet see the sheep, they proceeded into the midst of the sea. And the wolves followed the sheep, and the wolves ran after them into the sea. And when they saw the Adon of the sheep, they turned to flee before his face. But the sea gathered itself together, and became as it had been created. And the water swelled and rose till it covered the wolves. And I saw till all the wolves who pursued the sheep perished and were drowned. But the sheep escaped from the water, and went forth into a wilderness, where there was no water and no grass. And they began to open their eyes and to see. And I saw the Adon of the sheep pasturing them, and giving them water and grass, and that sheep going and leading them. And that sheep ascended to the summit of that high rock, and the Adon of the sheep sent it to them. After that I saw the Adon of the sheep, who stood before them, and his appearance was great and awesome and majestic. And all the sheep saw him, and were afraid before his face. And they all feared and trembled because of him. And they cried to that sheep with them which was amongst them, We are not able to stand before our Adon or to look upon him. And that sheep which led them again ascended to the summit of the rock. But the sheep began to be blinded and to wander from the way which he had showed them. But that sheep was not thereof. And the Adon of the sheep was wrathful exceedingly against them. And that sheep discovered it, and went down from the summit of the rock, and came to the sheep, and found the greatest part of them blinded and fallen away. And when they saw it, they feared and trembled at its presence, and desired to return to their folds. And that sheep took other sheep with it, and came to those sheep which had fallen away, and began to slay them. And the sheep feared its presence, and thus that sheep brought back those sheep that had fallen away, and they returned to their folds. And I saw in this vision till that sheep became a man, and built a house for the Adon of the sheep, and placed all the sheep in the house. And I saw till this sheep which had met that sheep which led them fell asleep. And I saw till all the great sheep perished, and little ones arose in their place, and they came to a pasture, and approached a stream of water. Then that sheep, their leader, which had become a man, withdrew from them and fell asleep. And all the sheep sought it, and cried over it with a great crying. And I saw till they ceased crying for that sheep, and crossed the stream of water. And there arose the two sheep as leaders in the place of those which had led them and fallen asleep. And I saw till the sheep came to a pleasant place, and a pleasant and magnificent land. And I saw till those sheep were satisfied, and the house stood amongst them in the pleasant land. And sometimes their eyes were opened, and sometimes blinded, till another sheep arose and led them, and brought them all back, and their eyes were opened. And the dogs and the foxes and the wild boars began to devour those sheep, till the Adon of the sheep raised up another sheep, a ram from their midst, which led them. And the ram began to butt on either side those dogs, foxes, and wild boars, till he had destroyed them all. And that sheep whose eyes were opened saw the ram, which was amongst the sheep, till it forsook its esteem, and began to butt those sheep, and trampled upon them, and behaved itself indecently. And the Adon of the sheep sent the lamb to another lamb, and raised it to being a ram and leader of the sheep, instead of that ram which had forsaken its esteem. And it went to it, and spoke to it alone, and raised it to being a ram, and made it the prince and leader of the sheep. But during all these, those dogs oppressed the sheep. And the first ram pursued the second ram, and the second ram arose and fled before it. And I saw till the dogs pulled down the first ram. And the second ram arose and led the little sheep. And those sheep grew and multiplied, but all the dogs and foxes and wild boars feared and fled before it. And the ram butted and killed the wild beasts, and those wild beasts had no longer any power among the sheep, and robbed them no more. And the ram brought forth many sheep, and fell asleep. And a little sheep became a ram in its place, and became prince and leader of those sheep. And the house became great and broad, and it was built for those sheep. A tower high and great was built on the house for the Adon of the sheep, and the house was low, but the tower was elevated and high. And the Adon of the sheep stood on the tower, and they offered a full table before him. And again I saw the sheep, that they again strayed, and went many ways, and forsook that their house. And the Adon of the sheep called some from amongst the sheep, and sent them to the sheep. But the sheep began to slay them. And one of them was saved, and was not slain. And it sped away, and cried aloud over the sheep. And they sought to slay it, but the Adon of the sheep saved it from the sheep, and brought it up to me, and caused it to dwell there. And many other sheep he sent to those sheep, to witness to them, and lament over them. And after that I saw that when they forsook the house of the Adon and his tower, they fell away entirely, and their eyes were blinded. And I saw the Adon of the sheep, how he wrought much slaughter amongst them in their herds, until those sheep invited that slaughter, and betrayed his place. And he gave them over into the hands of the lions and tigers and wolves and hyenas, and into the hand of the foxes, and to all the wild beasts. And those wild beasts began to tear in pieces those sheep. And I saw that he forsook their house and their tower, and gave them all into the hand of the lions, to tear and devour them into the hand of all the wild beasts. And I began to cry aloud with all my might, and to appeal to the Adon of the sheep, and to represent to him in regard to the sheep that they were devoured by all the wild beasts. But he remained unmoved, though he saw it, and rejoiced that they were devoured and swallowed and robbed, and left them to be devoured in the hand of all the beasts. And he called 70 shepherds, and cast those sheep to them, that they might pasture them. And he spoke to the shepherds and their companions, "Let each individual of you pasture these sheep hereon, and all that I shall command you, that do. And I will deliver them over to you duly numbered, and tell you which of them are to be destroyed, and them you destroy." And he gave over to them those sheep. And he called another and spoke to him, "Observe and mark all that the shepherds will do to the sheep, for they will destroy more of them than I have commanded them. And every excess and the destruction which will be wrought through the shepherds, record how many they destroy according to my command, and how many according to their own desire. Record against every individual shepherd all the destruction he effects. And read out before me by number how many they destroy, and how many they deliver over for destruction, that I may have this as a witness against them, and know every deed of the shepherds, that I may know and see what they do, whether or not they live by my command which I have commanded them. But they shall not know it, and you shall not declare it to them, nor admonish them, but only record against each individual all the destruction which the shepherds effect, each in his time, and lay it all before me." And I saw till the shepherds pastured in their season, and they began to slay and to destroy more than they were ordered, and they delivered the sheep into the hand of the lions. And the lions and tigers ate and devoured the greater part of the sheep, and the wild boars ate along with them. And they burnt the tower and demolished the house. And I became exceedingly sorrowful over the tower, because the house of the sheep was demolished. And afterwards I was unable to see if the sheep entered the house. And the shepherds and their associates delivered over the sheep to all the wild beasts to devour them, and each one of them received in his time a definite number. It was written by the other in a book how many each of them destroyed of them, and each one slew and destroyed many more than was prescribed. And I began to weep and lament on account of those sheep. And thus in the vision I saw the one who wrote, how he wrote down every one that was destroyed by those shepherds, day by day, and carried up and laid down, and even showed the whole book to the Adon of the sheep, all that they had done, and all that each one of them had made away with, and all that they had given over to destruction. And the book was read before the Adon of the sheep, and he took the book from his hand and read it and sealed it and laid it down. And immediately I saw how the shepherds pastured for 12 hours, and see, 3 of those sheep turned back and came and entered and began to build up all that had fallen down of the house. But the wild boars tried to prevent them, but they were not able. And they began again to build as before, and they raised up the tower, and it was named the High Tower. And they began again to place a table before the tower, but all the bread on it was polluted and not pure. And as regarding all this, the eyes of the sheep were blinded, so that they did not see, and their shepherds likewise. And they delivered them in large numbers to their shepherds for destruction, and they trampled the sheep with their feet and devoured them. And the Adon of the sheep remained unmoved, till all the sheep were dispersed over the field and mingled with them, and they did not save them out of the hand of the beasts. And the one who wrote the book carried it up, and showed it and read it before the Adon of the sheep, and implored him on their account, and pleaded with him on their account, as he showed him all the doings of the shepherds, and gave witness before him against all the shepherds. And he took the actual book, and laid it down beside him, and departed. Hanok, Enoch chapter 90. And I saw till that in this manner 35 shepherds undertook the pasturing, and by number they completed their periods as did the first, and others received them into their hands to pasture them for their period, each shepherd in his own period. And after that I saw in my vision all the birds of the Shamayim coming, the eagles, the vultures, the hawks, the ravens. But the eagles led all the birds, and they began to devour those sheep, and to peck out their eyes, and to devour their flesh. And the sheep cried out, because their flesh was being devoured by the birds. And as for me, I looked and lamented in my sleep over the shepherd who pastured the sheep. And I saw until the sheep were devoured by the dogs and eagles and hawks, and they left neither flesh nor skin nor sinew remaining on them, till only their bones stood there. And their bones too fell to the earth, and the sheep became few. And I saw until the 23 had undertaken the pasturing, and completed in their numbered periods 58 times. But see, lambs were born by those white sheep, and they began to open their eyes, and to see, and to cry to the sheep. Therefore they cried to them, but they did not listen to what they said to them, but were exceedingly deaf, and their eyes were exceedingly blinded. And I saw in the vision how the ravens flew upon those lambs, and took one of those lambs, and dashed the sheep in pieces, and devoured them. And I saw till horns grew upon those lambs, and the ravens cast down their horns. And I saw till there sprouted a great horn of one of those sheep, and their eyes were opened. And it looked at them, and their eyes opened, and it cried to the sheep, and the rams saw it, and all ran to it. And notwithstanding all this, the eagles and vultures and ravens and hawks still kept tearing the sheep, and swooping down upon them, and devouring them. Still the sheep remained silent, but the rams lamented and cried out. And those ravens fought and battled with it, and sought to lay low its horn, but they had no power over it. And I saw till the shepherds and eagles and the vultures and kites came, and they cried to the ravens that they should break the horn of the ram. And they battled and fought with it, and it battled with them, and cried that its help might come. And I saw till the man who wrote down the names of the shepherds, and lifted up into the presence of the Adon of the sheep. And I saw till the Adon of the sheep came to them in wrath, and all who saw him fled, and they all fell from before his face. All the eagles and vultures and ravens and hawks were gathered together, and there came with them all the sheep of the field, even all came together, and helped each other to break the horn of the ram. And I saw the man who wrote the book according to the command of Yahweh, till he opened the book concerning the destruction which those 12 last shepherds had wrought, and showed that they had destroyed much more than their predecessors before the Adon of the sheep. And I saw till the Adon of the sheep came to them, and took in his hand the staff of his wrath, and smote the earth, and the earth broke apart, and all the beasts and all the birds of the Shamayim fell from among the sheep, and were swallowed up in the earth, and it covered them. And I saw till a great sword was given to the sheep, and the sheep proceeded against all the beasts of the field to slay them, and all the beasts and the birds of the Shamayim fled before their face. And I saw till the throne was erected in the pleasant land, and the Adon of the sheep sat himself upon it, and the other took the sealed books, and opened those books before the Adon of the sheep. And the Adon called those men, the 7 first white ones, and commanded that they should bring before him, beginning with the first star which led the way, all the stars whose members were like those of horses, and they brought them all before him. And he said to the man who wrote before him, being one of those 7 white ones, and said to him, Take those 70 shepherds to whom I delivered the sheep, and who, taking them on their own authority, slew more than I commanded them. And see, they were all bound, I saw, and they all stood before him. And the judgment was held first over these stars, and they were judged and found guilty, and went to the place of condemnation, and they were cast into an abyss full of fire and flaming, and full of pillars of fire. And those 70 shepherds were judged and found guilty, and they were cast into the fiery abyss. And I saw at that time how, like an abyss was open in the midst of the earth, full of fire, and they brought those blinded sheep, and they were all judged and found guilty and cast into this fiery abyss, and they burned. Now this abyss was to the right of the house. And I saw these sheep burning, and their bones burning. And I stood up to see till they folded up the old house, and carried off all the pillars, and all the beams and ornaments of the house that were at the same time folded up with it. And they carried it off, and laid it in a place in the south of the land. And I saw till the Adon of the sheep brought a new house greater and higher than that first, and put it up in the place of the first, which had been folded up. All its pillars were new, and its ornaments were new, and larger than those of the first, the old one which he had taken away, and all these sheep were within it. And I saw all these sheep which had been left, and all the beasts on the earth, and all the birds of the Shamayim, falling down and doing obeisance to those sheep, and making petition to and obeying them in every matter. And after this, those 3 who were clothed in white, and had seized me by my hand, who had taken me up before, and the hand of the ram also seizing hold of me, they took me up and put me down in the midst of the sheep before the judgment took place. And these sheep were all white, and their wool was abundant and clean. And all that had been destroyed and dispersed, and all the beasts of the field, and all the birds of the Shamayim assembled in the house. And the Adon of the sheep rejoiced with great joy, because they were all good, and had returned to his house. And I saw till they laid down the sword which had been given to the sheep, and they brought it back into the house, and it was sealed before the presence of the Adon. And all these sheep were invited into the house, but it did not hold them. And the eyes of them all were opened, and they saw the good, and there was not one among them that did not see. And I saw that the house was large and broad and very full. And I saw that a white bull was born with large horns, and all the beasts of the field and all the birds of the Shamayim feared him and made petition to him all the time. And I saw till all their generations were transformed, and they all became white bulls. And the first among them became a lamb, and that lamb became a great animal, and had great black horns on its head. And the Adon of the sheep rejoiced over it, and over all the oxen. And I slept in their midst, and I awoke and saw all matters. This is the vision which I saw while I slept, and I awoke, and berakah Yehua of righteousness, and gave him esteem. Then I wept with a great weeping, and my tears did not cease till I could no longer endure. When I saw, they flowed on account of what I had seen, for all matters shall come and be fulfilled. And all the deeds of men in their order were shown to me. On that night I remembered the first vision, and because of it I wept and was troubled, because I had seen that vision.